Kia ora, good evening. Redundancies are on the cards at ANZ Bank, according to the Finance Workers Union. First Union General Secretary Robert Reid says last week ANZ met with staff to present a proposal to move 36 jobs in Auckland to Bangalore. He says these positions are in lending services and 14 new roles would be created. The union says ANZ today confirmed plans to move 131 jobs offshore, largely from Sydney back offices, with about 60 staff to be redeployed. Mr Reid says the move is unnecessary and ANZ should repay some of its custom by committing to keeping jobs in New Zealand. Southland dairy farmers have the second lowest level of compliance nationally for the 2011 to 12 year, according to a report released today. Full compliance for the region was just 45%, and the region also had a high level of non-compliance. Infringement notices issued to Southland farmers increased from 63 to 88, but there was some improvement, with abatement notices falling dramatically. The figures come from the Dairying and Clean Streams Accord between government departments, local authorities and Fonterra around water quality. The agreement had been in place for a decade, and a new accord's expected to be in place later this year. And on the topic of water, a total sprinkler ban has been imposed in Gore, with council saying recent dry conditions has put pressure on the town's water supplies. Handheld watering only is allowed in Gore Township on alternate days, while Matara has some restrictions in place which allow for hose and sprinkler use. Gore District Council Water Assets Manager Sarah Dowling says in recent years water restrictions have been common over summer months, and it may be some time before restrictions are lifted. She says with the Matara River level dropping and groundwater levels low, it was necessary to impose restrictions to meet consent conditions. There are no restrictions in place for Invercargill or the Southland district. A friendly brand has been created by an Invercargill City Council subcommittee designed to identify and endorse children and family-friendly things to do in the city. Sarah Bedford spoke to Child, Youth and Family-Friendly Subcommittee Chair Darren Ludlow about the branding and reasons behind it.
So people who have events, businesses, services, whatever, that are looking for that endorsement that encourages people with children or all families to come along, that's what we're hoping to provide. That there'll be a series of criteria that they have to meet, and if they do, we're happy to give them that endorsement.
In terms of this, are you looking to have this as a marketing thing for Invercargill, or is this Invercargill's new logo? Or
no, it's not taking over as Invercargill's new logo. It's an addition to the events that are on. It's a signal to parents or caregivers that whatever it is that we're endorsing is appropriate. It really does become a great unknown sometimes, and much like the cigarette with the red cross over it, you know that it's smoke free. Hopefully we'll end up with the same recognition after a couple of years when people will see the friendly logo and go, oh great, that's something that we can all head along to.
I guess the argument would be that isn't this just common sense, or couldn't people put that themselves?
Sometimes people don't know, and I guess as our culture diversifies and as people pick up information in different ways, you know, it's harder to get messages out there. So when people do see something and they can quickly look at it and go that it's appropriate, or you know, what can I do? One of our ambitions is that we can set up an app that'll go to the events website, and people will see the friendly events that are a part of it. So it's really enhancing what we've got at the moment.
So what's it actually cost for council to do this?
This process, with the consultation and the drawing up of the logos, been about $1,700. This is part of the budget that the Child, Youth and Family Friendly Committee has, and it's one of the early things that we identified that we wanted to take care of.
I guess looking into the year ahead, what do you see as being the big challenges and actually the work that this committee is going to be doing?
Still chewing through the policy and looking at what it is that's able to be implemented. We're talking with the Youth Council about the development of an app, making sure that information, for example, is accessible for young people in a way that they want to get it, making sure that parents know how to get the information that we're wanting to get out there. Partially it'll be interrupted by the election later in the year, but it's looking at a lot of the existing events and looking to hear from groups that are looking for support in getting events started that are appropriate for what we're trying to achieve.
Why is Council doing this rather than Venture Southland?
Well, it was Council that initiated it, and it's our point of difference for Invercargill. It comes under community development, and from Invercargill's perspective, we have community development in-house. From the Southland District Council, for example, their community development is provided by an officer at Venture, so ours is kept in-house.
After the break, it's had some recent bad publicity, but why a medicinal product is seeing strong demand. Welcome back. Despite recent controversy in the media, deer velvet production and demand is booming in the south, according to at least one local farmer. Winton deer farmer Dave Lawrence says once a risky investment, deer velvet is now providing good returns. Increased demand in Asian countries where deer velvet's been used for thousands of years has lifted prices for the traditional medicinal product. A kilogram of frozen deer velvet can now fetch up to $130. New Zealand exports around $250 million worth of deer products each year, around $50 million of that from deer velvet, exported to Korea and now China.
Deer velvet's been used in the Oriental market for centuries now. Oriental doctors will use it as part of a prescription combination for people. They might have blood pressure issues, so it'll be some ginseng, some arrowroot and some deer velvet. They mix it in a powdered form and to provide it to their clients.
An indication as to the strength of the market. For the first time this year, farmers were being paid a deposit by road buyers prior to velvet being harvested.
Certainly with venison, we're seeing growth into new markets, and we've seen price stability for some years now. The industry here is not expanding rapidly. There's only a very small increase in numbers. This is following in the early 2000s where there was poor returns for quite a few years and a lot of people exited the industry.
Genetics, hormones and timing supplementary feed are seen as the keys to growing big antlers.
The improvements we've seen in recent years are much more related to genetics, people focusing on the different traits that are involved with producing quality velvet, the beam diameter and the weight, and by selectively breeding, a number of people who have focused on this have made huge gains in recent years.
A recent competition highlighted just how good the southern stock is, with significantly heavier antlers being produced in the region. The growth rate of antler tissue is impressive, a full stack growing in just over 2 months. But despite big weights and strong market demand, many sporting authorities are now banning sports velvet medicines. Controversy over the growth hormone known as IGF-1 is seen as a non-event for New Zealand suppliers, according to Mr Lawrence.
We produce about 500 tonnes ballpark of velvet a year in New Zealand, and the amount that is used for that market is quite minuscule, really.
Manager of deer velvet producer Silberhorn, Sue Hewitt, says the controversy has boosted sales.
Well, as a deer velvet retailer, as they say, all publicity is good publicity, and it has been good publicity for us here. It hasn't really affected our sales. In fact, the phones were ringing a lot more, and I think people were more afraid that we were going to sell out because it was becoming more in demand. So it certainly didn't do us any harm, and we've probably got more sales out of it and more interest. People that didn't know about sports velvet, deer velvet, and now know about it. So it's been good for us all round, really.
Margot Sutherland, South Today News. A former gravel pit was the setting for a workshop on improving wetlands in Southland today. Around 20 people were at the event, a belated celebration of World Wetlands Day at the Waituna gravel pit, which links to the Awarua wetland. Waituna Landcare Group member Gay Munro says it was fitting to hold the event at such a site as it demonstrated how an area could be restored to a wetland. The workshop involved a demonstration of a wetland monitoring kit developed by New Zealand Landcare Trust, WetMac, which shows people how to monitor their wetland and ways it can be improved.
It offers ways of monitoring your wetland when you're first starting maybe a restoration project. So you're taking a baseline and then you're looking at how to plan what you might plant, what you need to do with it, what weeds are an issue, pests, animal pests, and setting up photo points so you can see changes over time. So it just talks you through all those things, the wet map kit, yeah.
So is this aimed at landowners or people with an interest in conservation, or who are you actually targeting with that?
Right, hopefully landowners have an interest in conservation, and it's a part of sustainable land management, which is what Landcare is all about. And anyway, we've got here today, it's about half landowners and also agencies. I know for the Environment Southland Land Sustainability Officers, it's something that they're very keen to be aware of and to be able to promote to people out on the land.
Do you think there is growing awareness of wetlands in Southland?
I hope so. It's one thing that it's recognised nationally. We've lost 90% of our wetlands, which is a figure we've quoted for the last 2 decades, I think, so probably more than that. But at this stage, rather than draining wetlands, I think it should be recognised that we should be preserving them, and they're an integral part of our land management. So yeah, I think slowly the wheel is turning maybe.
In terms of what you're doing today, what do you hope comes out of this?
Hopefully the landowners that are here today will go home and be able to consider their wetland better and maybe things that they can do to help it. Also, just to raise the profile of this Arua system, we've got a walk this afternoon around the loop track, which is a neat peat bog, so I think some of these people here won't have done that before, so it's just letting a few more people know about the gems on the back doorstep here.
Hundreds of Southland students swapped their school uniforms for body paint today. Around 950 students took part in the Southland Boys High School Athletic Standards Day. Covered in body paint, the boys proudly displayed their 5 different house colours while competing in a range of events, including track, high jump, discus and javelin. The day is used as a qualifier for the school's Championships Day, scheduled for a week's time. Teacher Sandler Meyer says it's an initiation for young students entering the school to show winning is important, but so is having a go. And that's it from news. Coming up in sport, we profile Highlander Hayden Parker from the news team. Good night.